Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. This session is all about healing from the deep wounds of infidelity trauma. I'm here to guide you through this method that truly has helped many women. It's something that I developed in my private practice, and I wanted to make sure that more people have access to that. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Silke. I'm a trauma therapist and infidelity trauma coach. But more importantly, I've walked this path myself. Okay, when my children were very young, I experienced infidelity in my relationship and the painful aftermath firsthand. Okay, this personal and professional experience fuels my passion for creating a healing process that I know works. Okay, so looking at the pictures here, I wanted to share some of these memories with you. So one was in the left-hand corner. You see a picture where my babies were still very young. My youngest was barely a year old, and my oldest son was about 3.5. And that's just before I found out that my husband was having an affair. And then the second picture is when my youngest was about, let's say, probably about 2 years old. And you can see I've lost a lot of weight. This was a very difficult time for me. I kind of took everything that I had, mostly emotionally, and I'm sure you can somewhat relate to that. And now the pictures on the right hand side, these are where things are today. So I really enjoy my life. I have my children are both in college now, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So that's a big accomplishment. It was very, very difficult being a single parent or co parenting for so many years. And then the picture above is me hiking. I love to hike, and I'm out there with a dog I was fostering for a week who was a great hiker and great company. Okay. So this is just a little bit about me. So you have an idea. You can probably tell, like, my name is Silke. So I grew up in Germany, but I've lived in the US for a really, really long time. Went to school here, had my children here. So I'm very familiar with the culture, etc. Okay. All right. So let's go and talk about just some of the things that you might be experiencing right now. Okay. Infidelity trauma often goes unnoticed and is misunderstood. It can cause obsessive thoughts, intensive self doubt, a very difficult time trusting others and yourself, and a deep loss of identity. So many women feel lost and broken without realizing it's trauma causing these feelings. You might hear friends and family saying, oh, just get over it, move on, and them not really realizing how severely you're suffering. And so there's a lack of understanding that betrayal, that type of betrayal, can create trauma. Okay. And so what happens if a lot of times we might try what our friends are telling us to do, but we're not able to move forward. We just kind of feel stuck, and that's often because of trauma. Okay. Getting the right help at this time is really important because if you don't, well, sometimes things get a lot worse. Okay. And sometimes it just takes a lot longer than it needs to for us to get, past what has happened and to be able to move forward. Okay. All right. So let's get to this main part here of this today, the hidden wounds of infidelity. This is something that we sometimes are not aware of, but our one of them is called the identity shatter. Okay. So the question is, what comes up is, who are we now? There's a lot of loss of self-worth, self-trust, and clarity. And I think this is one of the ones that comes up because we often identify ourselves with our role. So, meaning as a wife, as a family, and maybe what we thought would happen in the future, how things, we visualized how things would be in the future. So, there's a lot of trauma responses coming in sometimes, like people pleasing, getting to be like a perfectionist, because we felt like we were not good enough, so now we have to be extra good. Sometimes there's shame also. Okay, so let me share with you what that looks like in real life, because it often is not very obvious from the outside. So I have a little story here. So for example, Sarah, she's 42, a teacher and mother of two. Sarah had always seen herself as strong and intuitive and was grounded. And then after discovering her husband's affair, she spiraled into self doubt. Okay, so she told me, I feel like I lost the woman I used to be. Now I question every decision, even what I make for dinner. So she wasn't just grieving the relationship, she was also grieving the version of herself that felt confident and whole. So the identity wound, the sense that the betrayal didn't just break your heart, it fractured the sense of who you thought you were. Okay. So that is very intense. Okay. So the grieving that happens of the relationship that it used to be, and then grieving the role that you used to have. And then also like that sense of safety, and we're going to talk about that next, the safety collapse. Okay. Safety collapse is another one. Okay. So, so what that is, it's not feeling safe in your body or in your relationship. So the nervous system gets stuck in survival mode. And again, that is a trauma response. I want you to know that. Okay. So freeze, hypervigilance, or emotional numbness, okay, are some of these trauma responses that will occur after this betrayal. Okay. So freeze, and some of you might notice or not, but freeze is basically when we just don't feel like we can do anything. Sometimes that's even physical. So people can't get off the couch, or they just can't, only do the minimum, and it's because they literally cannot move. Okay. Hypervigilance is the opposite. Okay. These are the people that do, and go, and they cannot be still. Okay. And then emotional numbness is also one, and that is when people don't feel anything. So they're so stressed, emotionally so disturbed or so stressed that their body has learned to, or their mind has learned to disconnect from their emotions. And so they're feeling totally numb. Okay. And all of these are very common. Okay. People don't talk about this because it is somebody cheated on you or had a relationship. And in some cultures, that is normalized. Okay. And so that your experience sometimes is not validated, it's not taken seriously. Okay. And I want to make sure that you understand what you are going through is serious. Okay. This is a real trauma response. These things do happen. Okay. And that's why we're talking today, because there are ways that you can deal with that so you can move, you can heal, and you can move forward. Okay. All right, let's talk about Elena. She's 38, an entrepreneur. Okay. She said that I can stop checking his location. Even when he's in the shower, I feel panic rising in my chest. Before the betrayal, she was running a thriving business and felt in control of her life. Afterwards, she couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, and constantly felt on edge. Her body was stuck in survival mode. That's the nervous system reacting to the betrayal as a threat. It doesn't matter how smart or strong you are. This is what I call the safety collapse. Okay, so what happens is because we trusted a person and we experienced that betrayal, we no longer feel safe. Okay. We don't feel safe in that relationship because this is the person that we trusted and clearly they broke our trust. Okay. And then often what also happens at the same time is that we do not feel safe within ourselves anymore. Maybe we never have. Maybe we felt safe in, because of this other person. Okay. But we are now stuck in survival mode. Okay. And this is what we call the safety collapse. This is really creating often a lot of anxiety and a major stress because anytime it comes to anything that has to do with safety, that is a major stressor. Okay. All right. The last one I want to talk about is the emotional fog. Okay. So, not being able to think clearly or just not feeling like you are yourself. Okay. So, sometimes people are very distant. Okay. They're there functioning, but they're mentally not really present. Okay. So sometimes they have obsessive thoughts. There's an emotional disconnection. Okay, again, meaning like you're either not feeling anything or sometimes people are feeling too much. And just being overwhelmed with the emotions. Okay. And the trauma is unresolved and you're kind of spinning out of control. Okay. And sometimes I have clients that will tell me that they're crying excessively. So they're coming in, they're crying all the time. And, or then there's people that are just not feeling anything. Okay. And they're like, I'm supposed to feel something here. I know, but they're not feeling anything. And they're trying to understand that. Okay. All right. So here's Jasmine. She's 50. She's a nurse. This is what she told me. I used to be the one everyone came for advice. Now I can't even make small decisions. I feel like I'm floating outside my body half of the time. She wasn't crying at the time and she wasn't angry. She just felt disconnected from herself. She couldn't feel joy, had no clarity, or even trust her own thoughts. Okay, this is what happened when your body and your brain and your body are trying to process the trauma you haven't had the tools to work through. Okay, and that's the emotional fog. So if any of these seem true to you, okay, know that there's nothing wrong with you. You are just in trauma. And naming it is the first step towards your healing. And this is why I've created the Rise Pathway, my 6-week program. All right, so we're going to do just take a breath right now. And we're going to go and work on that identifying where you are at. Okay, if that's the identity shatter, the safety collapse, or the emotional fog. And we're going to do a little exercise with that together. Okay. So the reflection exercise, this is kind of what is part of my program. Okay, you have some of these inside of the program, but here we're going to do one together. And so I want you to reflect briefly and ask yourself, okay, which one of those wounds is where I'm at or mostly at? Sometimes they overlap. Okay. And then what does that look like in my daily life? Okay. So take out a piece of paper and a journal, or you can type it out on your phone. Okay. So let's say you had the identity shatter. Okay. What does that look like in your life? Okay. Sometimes what will happen is people will no longer feel like they belong to their friend circle because all their friends are married and have children and they no longer are together because their partner has cheated. Okay. It changes everything. Okay. So that could be an example. Okay. Think about what it is that's coming up for you in this particular case and just go ahead and write it down. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. All right. So the next question is with this exercise is what do I need right now to feel seen, soothed, or safe? Okay. And once we identify like that wound that we have, okay, we also can decide what it is that we need. And that's really important right now because this is like a crisis state for you right now. So, right now, things need to be more about you than other people. Okay. If we have children, okay, yes, it's, we can't change that. That's something that we still need to take care of, or our job, our responsibility. But we need to also take care of us. Okay. So, when we have a crisis like that, we need to focus on us. We need to be in a better place so we can heal and we can function. So ask yourself, what do you need right now to feel seen, to be soothed, and to feel safe? Okay. And sometimes that means, um, connecting maybe with somebody that makes you feel like they see you. Okay. Somebody that really gets it, that's not judgmental, and that's not trying to tell you what to do, okay, because that's not really helpful a lot of times. And then also for the soothing, okay, soothing is finding time to take care of you. If that means, having a ritual at night where you, have a blanket and a nice cup of tea and a candle and maybe some nice music, and you can just sit there or you can sit and journal, whatever it is that you need to do for yourself. Some people might be, just getting a massage or going out in nature, whatever that is really taking care of you, taking a nice yin yoga class that's soothing and relaxing. Okay. And then feeling safe, that is really, really important. Okay. What makes you feel safe right now? What is it that you need to feel safe? Okay. Your boundaries were violated. Okay. That's a real thing. Okay. So feeling safe is really, really important. Okay. So, what is something that could make you feel safe right now? Okay. And again, that is different for different people. Maybe having a family member around, okay, if you have that, or a friend that's supportive, okay, or some people will get themselves one of these weighted anxiety blankets, okay, where they can wrap up like a cocoon, and it's like a safety thing, okay. Think about what that is for you. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that, and then we're going to move on to the next question. All right, let's talk about the last one. So, if I could speak to this part of me with compassion, what would I say? Okay, that last question is really important because often we're so harsh on ourselves. Okay, we're so critical. Um, and that can be very, very difficult. Okay, sometimes, people are critical on the outside of the world, but our own inner critic, that's something that we can work on. Okay, we do have control over that. So, and sometimes what I do with my clients, instead of um, I take it outside of themselves. So I ask them, so how would you talk to your best friend that just went through what you went through? And what would you say to them to show that compassion, okay, that you have for them? And sometimes it's easier to do it for another person than it is for ourselves because again, we can't be very critical with ourselves. So, for example, okay, what I might say is to somebody that's is just going through that is um, first of all, you want to make sure that you validate them. You tell them, hey, it's, so sorry, this is what happened to you. Okay. And, this is a really difficult time for you right now. Okay. And, I want to make sure that you feel supported in your process right now. Okay. So, being compassionate might be to say, hey, it's okay. Just it's okay to be where you are right now and to feel where you are right now. And there is no right or wrong of grieving that change. Okay. And that some of the grieving stages you're going through is going to be, for example, anger. So it's okay to be angry. Okay. You have all rights to feel that way. Okay. So now go ahead and do that for yourself. Okay, so write this out with a lot of compassion. Okay, and then tell yourself, okay, what it is that you need to hear right now. Okay, and be gentle with you um, because your soul, it really needs that support right now. It needs to be supported. So um, be kind to yourself. All right, so ending this exercise, and you can continue with that on your own time. So I want you to just to go ahead and put your hands on your chest and close your eyes for a minute. Take a breath in and breathe out. Breathe in one more time and breathe out. And then say softly to yourself out loud, okay, it makes sense that I feel this way, and I'm learning to reconnect to myself. And then just feel that warmth of your hands on your chest and give yourself a little bit of that self love that you have. Okay, and take a breath in and let it go. Breathe in and let it go. All right, very good. Let's go ahead and we're going to continue and move on.
I first found out about my husband's affair. It felt
Well,
like
I
I'd
want
been
to
hit
show
by a
you
bus,
a short
completely
video right
blindfolded.
now.
I was
This
angry,
is from
sad,
one of my
numb, and
clients
totally
that
broken.
has gone through my program in a different way. Okay, she got to do it in person. And she has a testimonial of her experience. And I wanted to show that to you because I feel like a lot of you might be able to resonate with that. And so here we go. Okay.
When I first found out about my husband's affair, it felt like I'd been hit by a bus, completely blindfolded. I was angry, sad, numb, and totally broken. At first, I was angry. Then the sadness came. I couldn't believe he would do this to me. Was I not good enough? What did I do wrong? Why was this happening to me? I had so many questions and felt lost and stuck. I didn't know how to move forward. Should I stay or should I go? Every day, the trauma was there. I was drowning. I found Sophie, and for the first time, I felt understood. She helped me focus on what I can control and what I can't, and taught me how important it is to set boundaries to protect myself. I learned about the underlying reasons behind my relationship patterns, how to cope with my triggers, and most importantly, how to have compassion for myself. When I first found out about my husband's affair, it felt like I'd
Okay,
been
so this
hit
is
by a
an
bus,
example of one of my
completely
clients, okay,
blindfolded.
that went through this
I was
process.
angry, sad,
Okay,
numb,
so
and totally broken.
some of
At
the
first, I was angry.
tools
Then the
that we
sadness
have
came.
inside of
I
our
couldn't
course
believe he would do
is
this to me. Was I not
a
good enough?
community, so
What did
you
I do
can
wrong?
connect with
Why
the
was this happening
community
to me? I
within
had so many
the
questions
app
and
or
felt
within
lost and
the
stuck.
uh,
I didn't know how to
desktop
move
version
forward.
of the course.
Should I stay or should I go?
We also have a
Every
Facebook
day, the
community
trauma
that you
was
get to
there. I
join,
was drowning.
and
I found
that is
Sophie,
also so
and for the
people can be
first time,
supportive
I
to each
felt
other.
understood.
Okay.
She helped me focus on what I can control and what I can't,
One thing
and
is that I
taught me
focus
how
on,
important it is to set
it's not
boundaries to
just,
protect myself.
what we just did
I
now,
learned about the
exercises like
underlying
these, but
reasons
we
behind my
also focus
relationship
on
patterns,
effective coping
how to cope with my
strategies. Okay.
triggers, and
These are
most
very
importantly, how to have
simple
compassion for myself.
coping
When I first found
skills.
out about
Okay.
my husband's
I
affair,
explain them to
it
you
felt
and then
like
we
I'd
do
been
them
hit by a
together.
bus,
And
completely
if
blindfolded.
you
I was angry, sad,
are
numb, and
diligent
totally
about
broken.
using
At first,
those
I was angry. Then the
regularly,
sadness
okay,
came.
and
I
there is a
couldn't
tracker
believe
where
he
you
would
can
do this
track
to me. Was I not good
and keep
enough?
yourself
What did I do
accountable
wrong?
also within the
Why was
course.
this happening to me?
But
I had
that
so
will
many
help you
questions
get
and
through
felt
this
lost and
a lot
stuck.
smoother.
I didn't
And
know how
these
to move
coping skills,
forward.
honestly,
Should
these
I
are
stay or should I
lifetime
go? Every day, the
investments for
trauma was
yourself
there.
that you get
I
to
was
keep
drowning.
forever, because
I found
when you
Sophie,
are good at
and for the
those,
first
you're able
time, I
to
felt
regulate your
understood.
emotions
She
and
helped
get
me
through life a
focus
lot
on what I can
smoother.
control and
Okay.
what I can't, and taught me how important it is to set boundaries to protect
And
myself.
then, of course, we
I
have
learned about the
some
underlying reasons behind
self
my relationship
discovery
patterns,
techniques,
how to
meaning
cope with my triggers,
there's a
and
lot of
most
insight
importantly, how to have
that will
compassion
be
for
shared in
myself.
this
When I
course
first found out
that
about my
is
husband's affair, it felt like
coming
I'd
up
been
right
hit
now
by
for
a
you. A lot
bus,
of triggers that you're
completely
experiencing because
blindfolded.
of what is
I was
happening and where you're
angry,
at.
sad,
But
numb, and
again,
totally
these are
broken.
things that you
At
can keep
first,
for a
I was
lifetime,
angry.
because
Then the sadness
these are
came. I
skills and
couldn't
insight that
believe
will
he would
help
do
you
this to me.
navigate
Was
anything
I
in the
not good
future as
enough?
well.
What did I
Okay.
do wrong?
All right. So we will work on identifying personal triggers and patterns, okay, where they originated at, okay. There's some holistic practices which I will do with you, like I talked about, like breathing, meditation, EFT tapping. These are tools that will help you work through these issues. There's supportive community, like I said, and I will also share some alternative therapeutic methods with you that you can explore further if you wanted to, besides the course, okay, that I find very powerful. And then, of course, we're going to prioritize your self care and also mindfulness, okay, which is all part of the process. So if you're familiar with meditation at all, our mind is very powerful. So we're going to incorporate that as well. All right. So Mend and Rise, that's the name of the app. My course is inside of this app. Okay. It uses somatic processing to release trauma stored in the body, which also includes techniques like EFT tapping, meditation, and journaling to help you have a healthy emotional release, and then also help you self-regulate. Okay. There's tools inside where you can track your progress, and it helps you keep motivated and then also aware of your growth. Okay. The program itself is very comprehensive, so it's a 6 week program. Okay, which has a lot of information in it. I try to keep it somewhat simple, because we only have 6 weeks, and I know that everybody has a life. So people have children, they have work and children. So you don't only have so much time every day. So my goal was to have you dedicate 30 minutes a day for 5 days, okay, and then day 6 and 7 are for you to catch up, okay. So the reason I made this that way is I wanted to make sure that you get through that process and it doesn't get overwhelming, okay. It's also self-paced, so you know what, if you are unable to do every day and the 6 week course takes you 8 weeks or 3 months, that's still good. Okay. So just remember that. Okay. It is flexible. It's nice if you can do it and just follow the schedule, but it is self-paced. So you can do it on your own pace, which I think is really powerful, especially right now. Okay. So the 6 week course focuses on different elements. So the first week is about return to self. That means just reconnecting with yourself, which is really, really important because often we are very much focused on everything that's on the outside. Because we're trying to control our partner or our outside situation. But once we return and reconnect with our inner self, we really get our power back, and that's what we truly have control over. We do not have control over what our partner is going to do, okay, but we have control over ourselves, okay. We learn to build boundaries. That's really, really important. Week 2, okay. Building boundaries is something we often don't even think about in a relationship, okay. Because we fall into a relationship, we really are in love with them, and we tolerate a lot of things, right? We don't build boundaries, and then once they're violated with something that we thought was unspoken, we realize, hey, you know what, this needs to be addressed, okay. And so when it comes to building boundaries, what happens a lot of times in these situations is that people need space in order for them to heal. So once our boundary was overstepped, we need to have space so we can focus on ourselves and we can heal, right? And so, and that looks all kinds of different ways. Sometimes the partner has to move out, sometimes they move into a different bedroom. I mean, there's all kinds of different situations, okay? And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to set boundaries, recognizing what are some boundaries that might be missing, etc. So this is a really, really important week 2. Okay. Week 3 is also very powerful. I called it Feel It to Heal It, which means learning to feel safe enough to feel your emotions. Okay. So sometimes we are not taking the time to feel, especially when people are hypervigilant, which is a trauma response, meaning they're staying busy, busy, busy. Okay. That's how they learn to deal with their problems, but then they're not feeling. And when we're not feeling, we're not really processing our emotions and we're not healing them. Okay. So we're just kind of postponing everything, and then it's going to take a lot longer. Okay. That's why week 3 is also really, really important. We're learning to connect, take that time to feel, okay, allow ourselves to feel these emotions, and regulate them enough so they don't take over our life, so we can still function, etc. Okay. Week 4, own your triggers. Okay, we're going to talk about what are emotional triggers. How can we recognize which ones are ours? Okay, which ones are the triggers of our partner? And then which ones are our responsibility? Obviously, our triggers. We cannot work on somebody else's. Okay, and then how do we do that? Okay. Week 5, we call that break the cycle. Okay, and that basically means changing our patterns. Okay, so the patterns that we've developed over years, maybe over lifetime, okay, we can learn to slowly shift them. Okay, we're not talking about like major overnight changes. We're talking about slow, gentle shifts. Okay, and just remember, and again, this is week 6, we call it compassion up. It's all about having that self compassion for yourself in your process. Okay, so failing at certain tasks, okay, falling off the wagon, I call it, okay, totally normal. It's okay. Okay, that's self compassion. We are learning about us. This is a difficult time with a lot of emotions. And so being able to make even the small progress is good. Okay, and that's where the compassion comes in. Okay, again, any of these very powerful. Any of these chapters are very powerful. Okay. All right. So the Mend and Rise app is where everything is at. Um, this is, like I said, it's great to have an app so you can do it on your phone. But again, you can do it on your desktop too if you're more comfortable with that. And that is up to you. Okay. I love the idea of the app because you could, literally do it anywhere. You can, like, if you have, children or whatever, you can go sit in the backyard and do it while they're sleeping, or you can, find a nice spot during lunchtime. Okay. If you can sit outside, great. Okay. In Vegas, we can't do that right now because it's too hot. But let's say you can sit outside and you can do your half an hour or an hour, whatever it is that you need. Okay. So that's why the app is great. Okay. Um, we already talked about some of these things. There is a community in there for like minded women. I think that's also really important because a lot of times we're lacking that. Okay. Because our friends are not going through this. Okay. Very unlikely that they're going through it at the same time as you are. Okay, so there's a huge disconnect. They're in their happy little couple relationships. I'm sure they're having problems too, but yours is pretty severe. So connecting with like-minded women is really, really important, and then being there to support each other and lift each other up. I think that's also important. Um, Personalized support. Okay, so we will have weekly Q&A sessions that are live sessions where you can ask questions. Okay. If you did want more support than that, you can also get coaching. I'm not encouraging that because, if you need to have that, that's great. But my main focus is really trying to keep this all on this level. Okay. Interactive tools. Everything that I've done here is that there's journaling prompts. You can do those without having a journal. You just write them out. There's software installed that will allow you to do that. There's guided exercises, meaning you can follow along. Okay, we will do it together. Okay, I will explain it to you and then we will do it together. Okay, and so that's really great. So it's very supportive, especially when we're really busy and we're not really trying to take on some major task. Okay. All right. So the course is trauma informed. So meaning I am a trauma therapist. Okay. So I have a lot of experience with trauma in all kinds of different ways. Okay. And so this is a quality program. This is not something that just somebody put together. I have the education as well as the life experience. Okay, so you get lifetime access, which is great. You have the live calls. So if you have any really important questions, okay, uh, they are answered in a safe and supportive space. Okay, which is, these live calls will be on Facebook in your group, in the Facebook group. You have journaling prompts, okay? They will help you break these intrusive thoughts that you might have during the day, okay? There's guided practices, okay, which will help you calm and just kind of help you regulate your emotions, okay? And again, this is all guided, okay? We will do that together, okay? The bonus is that you get access to a supportive community, and the cost right now is only $149. Okay, so I'm still looking for quality feedback, which you will be asked for as well. Okay, and that's why the price is still really low. All right, so I want you to thank me. I want to thank you for joining me in this presentation today. And then I want you to remember that every day that you go without support often means another day that you're stuck in your emotional fog. Okay. And you deserve to feel lighter again. And you can do that starting now. Okay. You don't have to take advantage of this program, but the value of it, for your experience, for your life experience that's coming now after the experience, it's truly priceless. Okay, I wish I had that program when I was going through it, and I think I would have been able to get past it a lot faster. Okay, and the healing, the better you are at healing yourself, the better it is for your children. And if you are in a co-parenting relationship, or even if you're getting back together with your partner, okay. Some people don't get divorced, they stay together, and that is all fine, okay? But I want to make sure that you're not just forgiving or kind of pretending like it's okay. I want you to make sure that you really go through your grieving process and your healing. Because if you don't, okay, and again, I've learned this from a lot of my clients where they've had a major betrayal and they stayed, and then they were just really angry and resentful, and it was not good for their relationship and it wasn't good for them. Okay, so I'm really looking out for you. I want you to have the best life experience that you can have for yourself, for your children, for your co-parenting. Okay, all right, wonderful. That's it for today. There is information in the email where you received this webinar on how you can sign up for the course, and I hope to see you in there.